wellness community. My name is Lillie Brinker, and the podcast today is going to be around generational health. And my guest today is Valeria Evans, and she traveled to Costa Rica to do a 40-day fast.
30 days.
It ended up being 30 days, thank you. And so I'm just going to take the time to find out more about that. I'm excited to hear about her journey and some of the challenges and some of the spiritual enlightenment that she received from doing this fast. So welcome to my first podcast, and being my guest, I am so honored that you're here, and welcome to our wellness community. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Lillie, and thanks for having me on your podcast. It's great. I always love conversing with you, so this is just natural to me.
It is. It's going to be like we're just sitting down having this girl chat we do normally, and solving the world's problems and never solving the world's problems. You know how we do that. And everything, how we do that. So let's start. I mean, I remember when you shared with, it was a raw vegan gathering, and that you were going to Costa Rica to do this 40-day fast. And you were leaving last year, 2024, I think in November. You were going to head it out?
2023
Thank
November.
you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And my first day was November 12th of 2023.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to that, and let's start that journey. And tell me, what made you even decide to do this, first of all? What was like inside of you saying, this is something I really want to do?
Yeah, that's a good question, because fasting, you really have to, it's something that you decide to do.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think on my health journey and health and spiritual, the whole personal growth journey, it came more intuitively, and that's typically how I like to do things.
Okay.
You know, when my last extended juice fast, for example, it came intuitively that I wanted to do it, and that was when I was going to start it, and you just jump in. So the fast was something that I knew in the back of my mind. It was always something I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that was important to me for my health and for my children, the younger generations, if that's a thing in the future. And so I heard about the wellness center that I went to long ago, and the director, whose name is Lauren Lockman,
Mm-hmm.
I learned raw food from and natural hygiene. And so I always knew that I wanted to go there once in my life, just to get the experience, and to get the experience of doing a supervised fast.
Okay.
But from the time that I discovered raw foods and the time that I heard about Tanglewood Wellness Center, until the time I actually went was a long time. There was a big break because life got in the way, and
Of course.
working and family and other endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started to get that those signs just started to come of it's time to fast. I was starting to, when you go on the vegan, the raw journey and working on your diet and lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
you just start to plateau at a certain point.
Yes.
And there's a time that you get to, and it's time to do something a little bit deeper. It's time to either minimize things, simplify things, in other words, lighten up the body in whatever way.
Now, I have a question for you. You said a plateau. So for people out there in the audience they're doing this, what was your signal that you had reached a plateau?
My digestion.
Okay.
My digestion started to slow down, and I felt like there was a lot of waste in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I just felt like there was needing a cleansing that needed to happen. And my digestion was going off. I was on a routine of fasting 1 day a week. It was just something I liked to do. It helped me with my digestion, but that started to not be as beneficial. And so I was at work one day, and I was talking to a friend on the phone on my break, and a friend that we know, a mutual friend.
Okay.
And I was talking and sharing with him, my digestion's feeling slower. I feel like I'm plateauing I'm not seeing as many improvements anymore. I'm just kind of plateauing. And he said, well, why don't you go to Tanglewood Wellness Center and do a fast? And he's aware of the place, and bing, that was a sign. And I thought, yeah, that's it. And the next day I registered the next day after that, I had an interview with Lauren, and I just did it. I planned it, and everything aligned. And it's when everything aligns.
Yes, of course.
That you know
Yes, yes.
this is meant to be.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go back into sharing your experience from that place. So now you're getting ready to leave because everything's in alignment, and you've made it happen. You signed up, enrolled for the particular program. I'm using the right term, and now Val is on her way. So what does that look like?
So I guess that looks like throwing a bunch of things in my backpack and deciding that, what I need and what I'm going to take with me. I know I'm going to be fasting, so I won't need much.
Right.
I'm not going on vacation to go do activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm there. I was very much in the mindset of this is for me. I'm not there to meet friends or, to be in a tropical environment. I mean, that's all lovely.
Yes.
But I was there for me and to be alone with myself.
Okay.
And so I brought my journal. I brought my laptop and my phone, but I did not use them at all during my fast.
Okay.
And really the whole time I was there, until just the end. So I just packed up, and I had my flight booked months later, and the first day that I flew, November 12th, was my day 1 of fasting.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how it looked like. It was very just natural and easy. There was no fear.
Mm-hmm.
There was no worry or preoccupation with how is this going to turn out, what are the outcomes that I'm going to see, how am I going to feel. I just felt complete faith in the process, and I think what helped is that I kind of learned about fasting before and I knew about it. I read Herbert Shelton's fasting book, Art and Science of Fasting. Herbert Shelton is, if you don't know,
Oh, I'm not familiar. Thank you.
he's kind of a pioneer in natural hygiene. He's one of them. And
Okay.
he's written many books, but one of his things is he's got a book on water fasting. So I read that. So I really just prepared myself, but it was just full faith,
Now,
So-
what's the difference when you could have done it on your own? You read the book, but yet you chose to go into an environment that would be more supportive of you. So someone listening now could say, you know what, I'll do a water fast and I'll try 20 days or 30 days or whatever, or I've done a water fast for 20 or 30 days. But with you went into an environment that supported that journey. So what was the reason, the difference? You had done raw food, so what made you decide to go into that particular environment to do the water fast?
Yeah. It is funny because, water fasting, it can be free. I mean, you drink water and you lay in bed all day.
Right.
For 20, 30, 40 days.
Uh-huh.
And rest as much as possible. But, so I understood that, and for me though, it was very important for me to be in the environment, a supportive environment.
Okay.
And what that looks like, especially at Tanglewood, a supportive environment for me looked just like that. It was a place that only served raw food when you start to refeed.
Okay.
It's a place that's in nature, very immersed in nature, tropical. There's animals, all birds, insects.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
Sunshine. A very, very easy, simple way of living. No city noise or frequencies or no, frequencies or energies coming from artificial man-made cell towers and stuff. That was very important for me too. I needed to be in nature as much as possible. And of course just having the services, because they do everything there for you. They make your bed, they do your laundry, they've got water jugs everywhere. I mean, to me it was just very important. Another thing was I wanted to learn how to do it the right way.
All right.
Because you can do water fasting and you can do it completely the wrong way, which one of those ways is not drinking enough water.
Okay.
Another one of those ways is completely distracting yourself and not resting.
Okay.
You're still doing your activities or chores or moving around or even on your phone or screens. So complete rest, and it was so easy to do that over there. because there's no distractions.
So the healing process requires there is some stillness involved.
Yes.
That sometimes we, in our minds, decide we're going to do something a certain way, but continue in our quote-unquote normal life and expect some, I guess, amazing results from our body. And so when that doesn't happen, we get discouraged along the way. So you're saying resting was important, distraction, no cell phone, even the people that you're normally around, they weren't around you. So and then you mentioned being the stillness, the quietness that you needed, and then being in nature, which was all part of your healing process as well, which was, I'm sure, was needed for this to happen. So,
absolutely.
So sometimes we're doing these things and we're not removing some of the things that are causing us to be, I guess, disconnected from ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. It makes us, I think it can artificially make us feel connected when we're busy and we're using all these, all these ways to connect with others nowadays with the technology. But you have to question whether it really does connect us. And if we can't connect with ourselves, then how can we connect with others? And for some people, that might sound very scary.
Yes,
It's very scary because when you just sit still, so many things start to rumble in you. All your unsettled thoughts and emotions and your worries, everything comes up in you. These things you can't even explain.
Right.
And that's what we need in order to heal and grow. We need to be face to face with our soul. And the only way we can practice being more and more closer with our spirit and our soul is to have alone time. But really getting it to be alone time, not just, you're alone on your phone, but you're alone, quiet, there's nowhere to be, no one that you need to talk to, there's no emails to reply to, nothing to do, nothing to clean, nowhere to be, and nothing to do. And that's a very uncomfortable feeling sometimes, but it was still, and the body heals the most effectively in a homeostatic state. It's not when we're doing the extremes. It's not when we're moving a lot or, distracting ourselves in certain ways in our life. So that's when we find the most healings. When the body's at rest and it feels safe, now it has the opportunity to completely expel all the toxins and start to work on maintenance.
So tell me what that starts to look like or feel like for you.
Yeah, so the fasting experience was really amazing for me. It was kind of everything, really, because there's the physical, there's the emotional. My mood and my emotions were generally fine. I felt light, happy. My mind was a happy place to be while I was fasting.
We like that, happy place to be.
Yeah, and but physically I was extremely weak. That was my major thing. I didn't have a lot of vomiting or nausea or really concerning severe symptoms physically, except extreme weakness. So I lost a lot of weight. I already know I have, like many people have adrenal weaknesses, kidney weaknesses, and so, weaker nerves in general, so that all becomes exposed. So you become very weak along with my weight loss. So I was really forced to be in bed. But I didn't have too much pain. I had pains here and there, back pain, some bone pain, joint, head, neck, just all the places where you're congested. It'll let you know where you're congested, basically. But my emotions were generally okay. I really enjoyed the time that I was just in bed, looking at my ceiling, smelling the palm leaves, outside, and just listening to birds or just people walking outside, quietly outside of my ranchito, they call it. And so that was interesting. Now, there were times where, it's funny, we all kind of talk to ourselves and we find ourselves in times where we're just talking, not really to ourselves even, like, Val, you're doing great, but we're imagining a conversation with other people.
Okay.
So I would get into that,
Yes.
and we would, and I would get into conversations with people that I know, but the conversation never happened in the past.
Right.
Or I would think about, certain things that did happen in the past, and I would analyze it. Why did I react that way? Okay, where can I see some forgiveness, some opportunity? So just looking at that, observing, contemplating. When you're fasting, everything just gets really clear. The clarity just focuses like a pencil.
Yes.
And so you become so much more closer with your higher self. That's the experience, is you just feel lighter because, literally your body has 0 demands. You're resting as completely as possible.
Right.
You're not even reading a book. Things just come up, and some days I would just be outside or laying by the pool over there, waiting for my vitals to be taken, and just look at the clouds. And it was the only times I've been able to look at clouds and really just look at them and not think of anything. During my fast, there were times where I could really just not think about anything, and it was such a useful time. Everything just starts to organize in your life, and you just start thinking about anything, any thought that comes by. It's so much easier to realize and not attach yourself to it. It's just a gentle laugh, or for you to shed a tear, fine, and you just embrace it, you feel it, and so that's why I say it was kind of up and down and everywhere, but generally it was just a nice light bliss, and up here, not always down here. It's hard to move, but a good blissful feeling.
So did you feel, I use the word safe? Did you feel like you were safe in this whole environment of the up and down moods and the things that are going on? So there's a safety, because sometimes we go into fear when these things are happening to us. So did you ever go into fear when you felt some of these emotions, or you just kind of
not necessarily.
Okay.
No. I didn't really feel much fear at all. It was just, I think the only uncomfortable things that would come up for me were when I would think about things in my past that I've created. Maybe friendships or relationships or past arguments, and then going back to those memories, times of, more hatred and negativity with relationships or connections with other people. Going back to that, you kind of relive it.
Okay.
You relive it, and so just certain emotions. But I was well able to just sit back as the observer still at those situations.
Of your life. You were able to just
sit, yeah.
Right, okay.
Exactly. So I don't get so drowned into the emotion and being in the experience of past memories. But you just sit back and say, okay, this is happening. It's just, I don't have to question it, in other words, on why it's happening, why it's coming up. It's this memory that I haven't thought about in years, but I'm suddenly remembering. Oh yeah, I used to do that as a kid. I used to do that. Why did I do that as a kid? Why did I, for example, I just had memories when I would be yelling as a kid, or angry, or pouty, or stubborn. And it's like, why is that coming out? It's just energy that's moving out of you, and it's a beautiful thing.
Wow. So would you say that there was the term, I guess another phrase is stuck energy?
Stuck energy.
Stuck energy, okay. So when you're revisiting your past, like the little girl that was angry and whatever, and sometimes in our lives we try to hold on to that particular person or that particular scenario. So that let's just say 7-year-old girl is like, no, I'm going to hold on to this. But the adult is saying, it's time to release it. So that you go back and kind of rewrite that in your mind, or change the script or the story, or just kind of like, I'm all right with the way it was. Well, how did you move through that then?
Yeah. I think the way I can move in general, the way I like to move through those memories of my past, or just uncomfortable past experiences is to always look for compassion.
Okay.
Always look for opportunities to see where can there be love, forgiveness, for both sides, whatever
Okay.
was happening, for everyone involved, no matter what.
Mhm.
And if I feel uncomfortable giving forgiveness or compassion or love to
Uh-huh.
a certain being or a certain person involved,
Uh-huh.
why? And then just study that person,
Okay.
contemplate. What about them makes me uncomfortable
Uh-huh.
and brings out an unsettled part of me that I
Mhm.
need to heal, in other words. Or, another way is I would just really connect with my inner child.
Uh-huh.
And that's a wonderful way. And to tell myself, to have acceptance and say, I don't regret anything, but everything happened because that was the way it was meant to happen. I reacted that way, or a certain person did that to me, and I don't have to be involved so much. It just was meant to be for a certain reason. I did the best I could, in other words. So when it comes to regrets in life or uncomfortable things, I just tell myself, I did the best they could, or, the person that I was connecting with did the best that they could in their level of consciousness. I forgot who said it, but there's a quote someone said where people love at their level of consciousness.
Yes.
And
yes.
you have to accept that.
Yes.
With certain situations that we go through.
Yes.
And that's looking at the compassion there. That's the opportunity.
And I know there are people listening saying, well, you don't know my story. You don't know what they did to me. And, it's unforgivable for what they've done. So, and part of that also, in just speaking a little bit about that, is that you're still not in that particular environment or situation. Somehow or another, with all that has happened, you've been able to remove yourself or go beyond that. And now you're at a different place in life. So you kind of almost broke free from it. It may have been very, uncomfortable, or it could be painful in getting out of it. But you were able to, what do you call it, you or the universe or the higher power, a spirit guide, something moved you on at some point out of that situation. So now, looking back, yes, it wasn't the best, and it was horrible or horrific or whatever, but now I stand firm in another place in my life. And I'm no longer going back to that or allowing that. Or even maybe with the person. I mean, I'm not going to interact with them. I don't hate them. I mean, I'm not hating them, but there will be no more relationship with them at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's telling yourself, from that experience I grew, and I'm glad for that, because I wouldn't be here and now had I not gone through that situation.
And able to serve others. There's a purpose sometimes where you're able to serve others who are in that, and they don't stay stuck as long in it because you have experienced it. So they're not going to stay in there years and years and years because someone else has gone through and said, no, we can work through this and go a lot faster and get through this and go on to the next phase or the next level of your life and just continue to go higher in life and stuff. So
yes.
So
and so when you're fasting, that's like, this is what's happening. It's like you're almost doing nothing, but there's so much going on so many levels here. Your body goes into complete energy conservation mode.
Yes.
It's like, all right, everyone, cells, emotions, energy, let's get to work. And these things come up, and of course I've done work before this fast, emotional work, so I was able to practice having a mindset of forgiveness and compassion and understanding with all of these things that would come up. And that it's all happening for a reason. So it's amazing. It's an amazing healing time.
So now you've gone through the process. You said you went for 30 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So was there a reason 30, not 40, or you want to share that? And okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just I decided I wanted to fast as long as I can. I had no fear. There was no fear when questioning how long I should sign up for. I just said, Lauren, I want to go. I just booked the longest day there. I said, I want to go as long as I can. I want to get the best. I don't care how deep this goes.
Okay.
as long as, of course, my safety.
Yes.
I still want to be in this body now. But, so I signed up for the longest one is the 42-day fast with, I think 21 days of refeeding. So I just signed up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said at the very worst, if I end early, then hey, I'm there for extra time, eating perfect fruit in Costa Rica, enjoying the environment, around good people and friends. And I started the fast with the mindset of going as long as I can. I didn't really care about the numbers or counting the days as much. And 30 days seemed to be the longest I could go.
All right.
And the signs that came up that told, Lauren and I, and we mutually decided that it was time to stop, were just some physical things. So one thing was I was spitting up blood.
Okay.
And which wasn't concerning to me.
Okay.
But I was spitting up some blood, but that caused me to not be able to drink water because I got to a point where I just couldn't take down water. I'd be sipping water, and it would give me this terrible nausea. It was like drinking blood and water mixed. It was just disgusting. Number one, gross. It didn't taste good, but then it gave me this terrible nausea, and I would just vomit. And at that point, you're just vomiting bile, and it would be bile and blood. It wasn't a lot, but it was a good amount.
Okay.
But I wasn't concerned about the blood, but I said, Lauren, I don't, since I can't take water anymore, I don't want to be dehydrating the old material anymore, because the purpose of water fasting is to rehydrate the old waste, the old dehydrated material, and to move it out as you refeed with the fiber and the fruit and stuff. So I wasn't able to drink water anymore, so I thought, I don't want to counteract this process now. This should have stopped. And he said, yeah, it might be time. And I was a toothpick then. It was like, yeah, it might be time to stop. And 30 is an even number. I was okay with that. Okay. So there wasn't really an attachment to the number, but just as long as I can, and I was happy, and it was fun. And it dug deep. I'm still feeling effects from it. So.
Okay, so now you just shared that with the people, our audience, saying, I had blood and I lost weight and I was throwing up or trying to throw up, whatever else in your system. So they're like, okay, this is like for them, red flag, red flag, red flag, fear, fear, fear. Because my body's doing something that normally would say to me, run to the doctor, run to the doctor, run to the doctor. And yet you're just like, okay, and under Lauren, you two are able to assess it, look at it, and not go into fear, which is quite powerful, because that means that somewhere you had reconnected with your body to not be at that level of something's terribly wrong and I can't fix it, or something's terribly wrong, I don't know how to fix it, and fix is not the right word, but I'm using that word, fix it, and it didn't, you were weak and you did lose weight and all of that. As the audience can see, you look fine now. You're a beautiful woman, so you look fine and everything. So, okay, Val, all right, so now it's time to come back to the States. You've been in this amazing environment, you look at the sky, you get to be in nature, and you have this amazing food and everything else, and it's time to come back to reality, back to life. So let's talk about that. Yeah. Let's start with your flight.
Yeah, my flight was a pretty interesting experience. My first flight to Dallas was fine. I was eating my fruit meal, and then my second flight was really, really tough. I got really sick. It was 4.5 hours of nausea, vomiting, nonstop. I felt like the worst airplane client to the attendants. And they were trying to be nice, giving me the ginger ale. Can we give you a ginger ale? Are you sure you don't want it? I'm like, no, it's going to make me vomit more. Yeah. No, thank you. So that was really hard. I was just completely depleted. It just takes so much out of you. And it could have been many things. It could have been being in the altitude so high up, the pressure, the frequencies and energies of being in a plane, and the sensitivities and stimulation. Could have been the fact that I ate. I usually fast on days that I fly. It's just easier. And but who knows? So I felt for some reason I had a really not so fun flight coming to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming to Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
it was freezing here.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I just had my Costa Rica, just a couple layers, but yeah, I wasn't prepared for the cold. I didn't expect it to be as cold as it was the day that I landed too.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually abnormally cold, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard, and then the next couple weeks, just coming off of that, that sick flight,
Mm-hmm.
I felt extremely dehydrated. So my routines were off. Felt like I was glued to bed again,
Mm-hmm.
glued to a bathroom. I
Mm-hmm.
needed a bathroom. I was still vomiting every night for several weeks, or at least every other night. But most nights out of the week, I was vomiting. My dinner, part of it, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. Something was changing and something was detoxing, or
Okay.
there was some kind of waste moving, perhaps my gallbladder, something in my bile duct, I don't
Mhm.
know, or something in my brainstem moving. I was getting that reflex. I don't know what it was, but I felt really depleted and
Okay.
was really low on energy,
Mhm.
and then the emotions reflected that too, just dehydrated, stagnant
Mhm.
kind of behavior.
Okay.
Irritability, impatience, discomfort, OCD-like tendencies
Okay.
were really rough. I suddenly just started thinking about germs again and contamination. I never used to be that way.
I can, sure, when you got on the plane and got, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but I think
This clean environment is like, oh, okay.
Exactly, and things, and just staying in a room again that wasn't, Costa Rica, over there all the windows were open,
Oh,
but it was
yes.
freezing here, so I couldn't open the windows, and so just less ventilation.
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know about the quality of fruit, if that affected me, but not grounding every day. I'm not moving as much as I
Right.
was. I wasn't walking. Just the environment was completely different.
Okay.
Now I was blessed to have to stay at a friend's place who
Right.
opened her room, and that environment is lovely, peaceful,
Yes.
quiet,
Yes.
and that's is an amazing gift
Mhm.
that I had that. But certainly something kicked my butt
Uh-huh.
coming here, and I'm slowly getting more of a grip now on myself, and things are getting better. But it's almost like I felt amazing in Costa Rica,
Mhm.
and then went back down again to like how I felt when the first week of refeeding, when I was
Mhm.
expelling a lot more. But after that, it got better. Makes sense.
Well, let's talk about something that people don't want to talk about, but they need to talk about, and it's our digestive system. And it's in the process of the word is elimination you used, but it's passing stool in layman's term. So let's talk about that, because people say, oh, I go to the bathroom once a day, once every 3 days, once every 4 days, once every 5 days. So you were eating raw. You are, I would say by general standards, are probably a lot healthier than most people. And that's just my observation. Okay, that's me. I didn't do any examination, just observation. And so from that perspective, you would be a person that would think, oh, that body is purely clean. Why is she bothering to do 40-day fast? She doesn't need it. So when you started to do that, and you came back, what did you notice about your digestive system, lower and upper intestines? What started to happen, GI, all that with you?
Yeah, and I'm only laughing just because there was a part of me going into the fast that felt that way too. Like,
yes.
I'm healthy.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got this, and
Yeah.
I'm strong. I've worked on this for years now. I'm good. Maybe I'm sure I'm not perfect, but maybe have still some waste there, of course, and that's why I'm fasting.
Mhm.
But it won't be that rough.
Right.
It'll be just fine. And
Okay.
no. I was definitely shown that this is a marathon. This health journey is a marathon.
Yes.
And that things take time.
Yes.
Healing takes time. And it was a really good wake-up call that, I knew that there were some weaknesses in me, but maybe there was a lot more than I thought.
Okay.
About myself, and first of all, digestion, what was in there.
Yes.
I mean, literally the waste that was in there.
Yes.
So being exposed to that was really interesting, and it all kind of made sense because the more I started to eliminate with my digestion as I was refeeding, and that's an interesting observation too in itself, just the elimination process.
Well, no. Please share. Just give them a little bit of just insight. You don't have to go into the whole details, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because people
I'm
always.
happy to share.
Go ahead.
So when I was raw, typical before the fast, were like 3 times a day, right?
Okay.
With meals.
Okay.
Each meal.
Which is like fantastic.
Which is actually good.
You're like stellar. You're at the top of the chart with that, okay? According to this, where we live in this country. Go ahead.
Right, and painless, odorless, quick.
Oh, you got it. Yep.
No, just clean.
Yeah.
Clean.
You're clean.
No residue.
You
easy.
got it. Yes.
And then the fasting, I had no bowel movements during the water fast.
Okay.
And then once you refeed, the refeeding process, they say, is just as important as the fasting because you need to do it a proper way.
Okay.
And I understand why now, because the way you refeed will dictate how you eliminate. So
repeat that, because people need to know that. But not refeed, but the way you feed. We'll use it. Just repeat that with your statement, what you said, so they can hear what you're saying.
The way you feed yourself is going to affect the way you eliminate.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to just make it clear to everyone.
Absolutely.
So,
During the fast, no bowel movements, which is normal, it's fine. And then once you're refeeding, it all starts to come out. And typically, I talked to other people while I was refeeding, and are you bowel movement? Everyone just talks about bowel movements.
Oh yes,
and
yes,
like
yes,
it's nothing.
yes,
and
yes.
Like where you're feeling pain or whatever, just gross stuff that people would think are comfortable. But we just all talk about it there. And yeah, the first week was usually the most common where people would get the most stuff out, the most old, hard stool.
Okay.
And so that was my experience too. The first week was definitely where I got out stuff that was like, ooh, that's definitely not like my last bowl of grapes that I had at the airport or something.
Okay, so it goes way, way back.
So it's like that is old stuff.
It goes back.
And it's funny because as I was refeeding, there were memories of like pizza coming up. I had no intention to think about pizza, but I just thought about pizza. Boom, and I'd eliminate. Right
so that
before
glue,
a bowel movement.
that glue, that bread that we all love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all gluey. I call it glue poo.
Glue poo. Yeah, okay. All right.
Any of that gluten. Glue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sticky. You know, the starch when you cook pasta and oatmeal, the starch that comes up on the pot.
Yes.
All of that the paper mache gluey stuff.
Yes.
It all hardens over the years, and it's what causes us to stay malabsorbed. And some people show it more than others. I was always skinny, underweight my whole life, and that showed in that way. Whereas other people it shows as deficiencies and stuff. And so this stuff was coming out, and I'm thinking, and you just celebrate it. You're like, awesome. You know, those weird, gross symptoms come up right before the bowel movement, but you understand it. When you understand the process, you have to re-experience all the toxins that come out, and that's why this process is not for everyone sometimes because it's hard.
Right.
It's uncomfortable. You go through weird emotions, and it's connected with how you eliminate and the rate at which you eliminate.
Right.
It's just, but it's cause and effect. That's all at play. So.
But you made a point because in this country, if you're thin, that equates to being healthy. And people say, and then what people do is like, you need to eat more. You need to eat more. Eat more. You need to put on weight. But at the same time, you're saying that the foods that you're eating, your body isn't getting the nourishment it needs.
Exactly.
So that's causing problems as well. So if you're not eliminating and you're slender, doesn't mean that you're healthy, but we think it's healthy. Now, we're not saying to be obese either, but we're saying that it doesn't mean, it doesn't add up to being healthy all the time.
Absolutely. And that's kind of, you know, I never really cared that, you know, growing up,
Yeah.
I was just, under conventional standards, I was underweight, my BMI.
Right.
I mean, my parents never worried about it. It
Right.
was never something that, weight was never something we talked about. But, you know, I always just thought, I'm skinny and so I'm healthy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
what's
Yeah.
wrong?
Mhm.
But, you know, there's a point where you say, I'm in my 20s and I can't do a pull-up. I can't run. I'm skinny, but I'm not a good runner.
You didn't have energy.
No, I don't have the energy, right. My neurotransmitters, my adrenals are down. And, you know, I have these weaknesses in me. I don't feel as, like I have the vitality, I don't feel at my full potential with my vitality. And that's what I'm talking about with the plateau, is like you can look however, in any form on the outside, but on the inside you may not be healthy.
Right.
And so, and that malabsorption and malnourishment can look different ways. It can look like obesity. You can be overnourished, or overfed, but undernourished.
Thank you for clarifying that. Overfed, undernourished.
Overfed and undernourished.
Yes.
And most people are in this range.
Yes.
Most people in the world are overfed and undernourished
Yes.
because we're packing and stuffing ourselves with foods that are not aligned with our biological diet.
Mm-mm.
These cooked carbs, the complex carbs that just stuff us up like dolls, and the protein that just packs on to one another but isn't useful, amino acids and dynamic.
Yeah.
The fat that just stores toxins and
Yes.
weighs us down. I mean, you only need so much steel on a car to make it quick and
Yes.
light.
Yes.
You don't need all this weight on you. And where is that weight coming from? It's the food. So it's not always about more. I take care of so many moms with anemia and little deficiencies like that who are eating steak, salads, and all, you know, typical cooked broccoli, spinach, and chicken, iron-rich foods, right? But they have anemia. What's going on there? It's not you don't have enough iron or you don't have enough B12, you know, let's say. It's just that you're not utilizing it. That's the thing with deficiencies. It's two problems. The food isn't adequate, or your body is not efficient at taking it in and utilizing it. Usually it's the second problem for most of us.
Our stomach is the size, that I've heard, now you can verify this, the size of our fist. Is that true or is that not true?
I think it could be. I honestly can't verify
Okay,
that
then
because I've never seen a stomach and I don't work with imaging stomachs, but I think that's typically something that they say, but really who knows? I mean, nowadays colons don't look like, a typical colon doesn't look like one that you see in an anatomy and textbook. You know, when you look at a textbook of small intestine, all the organs.
Yes.
A colon nowadays is stretched out and there's pockets and inflammation.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not toned up at all. And so that's another reason why we have, you know, all of this waste in us, because it developed. I mean, we have diverticuli and it, you know.
Could you explain what that is? Because sometimes, you know,
yeah.
What does that
So
mean?
our colon has pockets, you know, two pockets, and our small intestines and our colon all kind of absorb different things. So apparently, I learned from Lauren that our small intestine is where we absorb most of our water. Of course, you want the water to continue down the colon too, but the colon is shaped, you know, even a textbook might show you this. It has some bumps around it, the diverticuli. You see diverticulitis is inflammation of those parts, right?
Thank you.
So, and those are all useful. But nowadays, when we're eating foods that are causing inflammation, well, what does inflammation do? It's going to, you know, acidify. It's acid moving on. So you're eating this high protein diet, these acidic foods too, cooked foods, carcinogenic foods, processed foods, that stick to these walls, especially the complex carb and the protein combination, which is terrible for you, steak and potatoes. It's terrible because when you're mixing the cooked protein
this is what I was gonna,
and the cooked carbs, it's going to stick, that protein
Yeah.
now is going to stick to your wall.
Yes.
This is just talking about that specific combination, but it's going to stick to your wall.
Mhm.
And what is that protein going to do? It's going to putrefy, it's going to
Yes.
inflame, it's going to be painful to
Yes.
that wall. Well, now it's weakening the wall
Mhm.
over time. So the common colon is not healthy
Okay.
nowadays. I
So-
mean, we have a lot to do. And so therefore, I think the stomach,
Uh-huh.
you're saying it's a fist. It might be in a healthy person,
Okay.
or maybe a child.
Okay.
But as time goes on, I don't know if
We've-
all stomachs are quite the size
Okay.
of a fist. Really, who knows how toned they are and,
Okay.
and how functional they are nowadays.
That's okay. And the
I
other
don't
thing,
know.
wow. And the other thing, I guess, is that, which we won't go into too deep, but the food combination. We really are in the dark when it comes to what we've been told and promoted as a real healthy meal. You know, like you said, the meat, the potatoes, the salads on the side here, and then whatever else, the rice, beans, whatever we're doing. But that food combination, we're not meant to combine all those foods together. Our system just can't process, and everything process, in a different timeline. So beans will take longer than the salad, and this and that, and you're just like dumping everything into like a garbage disposal and hoping that it'll all just shoot through. And then that's like the evening or the afternoon, and then tonight you'll go back and eat something else, and then tomorrow morning you'll go eat something else, and none of that's been processed. You may have a couple of things that have gone through the intestines, but most of it is still there. And then we start over again, and so we're wondering why our stool's backed up. We're wondering why we're not able to digest. We wonder why we have gas. We wonder why all these things are or we're burping, bloating, we're doing all these things, our skin is breaking out. And like you said, this meal combination is really an interesting observation and to look at what we're doing, because you can say this doesn't go, this doesn't, whatever, it doesn't.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think, that certainly goes with raw food. You
Yeah.
know, raw food, once you get on the raw food, you understand really precisely about combinations.
Yes.
You feel it so clearly.
Yes.
You're a lot more sensitive to it because it's such cleaner foods and such a simple way. It's beautiful.
Yes.
How sensitive you become to what the energies you consume in your body. But with the cooked food, even, there can still be improvement in that. Even,
Yes.
I mean, people think fruit is a dessert, right?
Yes.
A fruit cup or something
Yeah.
is dessert. That's the worst thing you can do. It's gonna ferment, and you're gonna, I don't know, raise your blood alcohol level.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want that, and now you're introducing the risk for candida and the fungus family, because the fungus family likes the carbons,
Yes.
the sugars, the fermenting sugars, and so of course, so many people walking around with fungal issues because of this, the
Yes.
poor combinations. It's really kind of a landfill, like you said.
It is.
It's a landfill.
And I think I guess I use the word observation again in learning this, being raw. And this is I'm going into my 4th year, but I completed my 3rd year. I'll be my 4th year, I think. I got to calculate. Yeah. But in learning that, and I do mono. Now I just eat like one meal at a time, or one particular like fruit. If I'm doing that, I do a certain fruit. It could be oranges or something, but it's not a combination. And even with raw, I did combination for a while, but I feel much better just doing one particular type of fruit or vegetable or something, and then eating it, and then going to the next, to do it that way for my system. And I can feel in my I want to say stomach or intestine. I can feel when food goes into my system now, whereas before I couldn't. I not in feel in a good way. I'm saying, and it's going through, and it's processing. We're talking about a variety of things here today, and your journey and food and everything else. And you work as a nurse. I just want to just speak a little bit about that, if you're open to doing it, if it's not something. But tell me just some things real quick. I know we've gone from the water fast to this, but I want to kind of close out with some of these things.
That's life.
Okay, yeah, okay, all right. So we just go all over the place here.
Unstructured fun.
Okay.
And
So,
happy.
as a nurse, just share with the audience, for women who are considering becoming pregnant, women who are pregnant at this point, what you have seen at this point with children coming into the world, with mothers carrying babies, being pregnant, some couple of odd things that you can kind of see that maybe is concerning, or things that they could start to work on now to prevent some of these things. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think that's really something I'm passionate about.
Yes.
Because it is kind of my world that I work in.
Uh-huh.
And I admit it is tough to work as a nurse. What you were saying earlier, how everyone goes into the healthcare field with good intentions.
Yes.
You know, I want to help people, this, and only a few become really, maybe all of them, I don't know, but a lot of them become burnt out, or jaded, or they discover natural ways and natural health, and they discover, wow, this actually isn't the way to heal.
Right.
No, these doctors don't know how to heal anyone. We're just suppressing symptoms and contributing to your shorter life.
Yes.
That's all we're doing. Now, luckily, I love the area that I'm in. So I work in the area of postpartum, maternal, newborn, mother, baby.
Okay.
So I take care of moms and newborns after their delivery. So the labor and delivery nurse calls me up, says, hey, we got a C-section, a vaginal delivery coming down. Great, send her to our floor. And then we take care of them from there for the next few days.
Okay.
You know, depending on what happened and how much they need. I will start off by just saying I don't believe that women should birth. I don't think that humans, like females, women should not be birthing in a hospital.
Okay.
It is a completely.
Now that's your job. That's your income.
I know.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
I don't think if we lived in an ideal world, in other words, if we were all healthy, ideal, you know, health and you know, everything, women would not have a need for hospitals. The healthcare system would go, ooh,
Yes.
the need would be so little, you know, so there'd be no profit. Maybe the ERs or trauma, you know, for here and there, but even that would go down in profit. Because as you get healthier, your coordination becomes better, so you're not getting in as much accidents, and you're more aware, your hearing is better, you're not tripping over things, you know, you're not having accidents anymore, you're not getting as injured. But in my area, it is tough because I understand kind of a different perspective now as I'm working. So I will just start off by saying I don't think it's natural, you know, to do that. And I admire women who look for alternative ways to birth their babies. And I fully support it in whatever way, you know, it looks like. Even at a birthing center, it can be really a much more healing environment. That's conducive to the health of the mom and the newborn. But of course, the truth is we live in a sick society. And so we have to have things like hospitals and these interventions like, you know, mom coming in with gestational diabetes, you know, preeclampsia. And so those can be really dangerous situations, chronic hypertension. So some women can develop conditions, right, or, you know, symptoms when they get into pregnancy, and some women are just sick to start off with, and they got pregnant, and so it's just management now of their conditions, and it could be a long list. So, yeah, I mean, I could go for on and on about the things that I see that are kind of abnormal to our species that just don't make sense. I mean, when it comes to the moms, it's not people aren't healthy anymore, so we're just managing and suppressing symptoms of hypertension and pain. Why are you in so much pain? Well, it's because we have acidic bodies, and why we have acidic bodies because we're consuming acidic foods and stuff. So all these years of consuming the wrong diet has created this acidic body. Now it's pregnant. Now that sick body is supposed to nourish that baby, and that's the most important time to nourish a baby. Although I say, you know, newborn health starts before conception.
I agree.
Before years before.
Yes, I agree.
Years before. So so you see newborns that don't come out as vital. In other words, you know, there's healthy newborns, of course. Most are conventionally on allopathic eyes healthy newborns. Most are. But then you see, I see a lot of more kidney issues now with the newborns.
Wow.
Newborns born with one kidney.
Wow.
Kidneys in the wrong anatomy. Horseshoe kidney. There's something called horseshoe kidney. I forgot. That might be the one kidney.
Okay.
But it's called horseshoe kidney.
Okay.
The kidneys are just off place. Just the anatomy is off, so it developed differently, which usually means it's not just the kidneys, it's something else that's also, there's connections that also might not have developed. And so a lot of irritability in the newborns, not able to breastfeed well, the coordination is off. But you have to think, during the delivery, these moms can be pumped with, synthetic oxytocin, which we call Pitocin,
Whoa.
to induce labor or induce contractions to get the newborn out, and other medications, even medications just to manage their chronic conditions that they had. So everything that the mom is taking in, the baby's taking in.
Yes.
Just like pregnancy, just same with the delivery. So
Yes.
any intervention that they do, any emotion that she's feeling, the baby connects with that and is exposed to that. So you see babies, for example, a mom with preeclampsia, we have to put her on a magnesium sulfate infusion because magnesium will relax the muscles, right?
Okay.
And so the magnesium it prevents seizures because a high blood pressure, too high of a high blood pressure, can create seizures actually, and so you don't want that to happen, obviously.
Okay.
So we have to put them on magnesium to prevent seizures, and hopefully with that we can, along with other medications like labetalol and other antihypertensives, we can control the hypertension. But the reason why they're hypertensive is because there's so many not so good things going on. I mean, they're inflamed, their body's in stress, they have way too much fluid, especially during delivery. They pump them with way too much fluid through the IV. And then everyone's dealing with weak kidneys because of high protein diet, so the kidneys aren't efficient.
Wow.
So the mom's body's not efficient, the newborn's body isn't efficient. So it comes out as just newborns, like I said, with bad kidneys. I look at their eyes too, because I do a little bit of iridology, and I studied just the basics, and I've delved into that. And it's fun, but you can look at these newborns' eyes when they open them.
Yeah.
Some of them don't open them for a while, but when they open them, even the newborn, they have the GI tract is very lymphatically congested. There's a lot of acute congestion going on in the GI tract. So this baby is already born with some degree of malabsorption, right?
Okay, yeah.
And then who knows, any weaknesses that the mom had, endocrine weaknesses, any, lymphatic congestion, the baby is born with too.
Wow.
So most likely the mom had a bunch of, lymphatic congestion and cellular weakness along with that got passed down. So that's the blueprint that the baby is starting life with.
Yes.
And then add to that the whole environment of a hospital, of someone else, foreign hands, not the mother or father's hands catching the baby, not them, not the parents, of a lot of people being in the room, of with a C-section being in a sterile field.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that's going to put the baby more at risk for certain diseases later in life. And so these diseases later in life will start because the baby had a bad start with their delivery, with the weaknesses that they were passed down with, that were passed down to them, but then also the additional environment of their birth experience.
Wow.
And so it's not really an environment. This is why I say I don't think in an ideal world we would need hospitals it just wouldn't. We would be out in nature, because this is where, because in nature an animal who is delivering will usually, most animals, I don't know about everyone, I'm not an expert, but I know that many animals the female will go alone.
Yes.
She'll go out, she'll hide. Obviously she doesn't want to be exposed to a predator, right? Or be out in the open.
Exactly.
Hospital's completely different. You're out in the open.
Everyone's there.
Vagina's
Come
out,
one, come all.
Breasts are out, she's naked.
Oh.
All these people coming, and it's an environment where it's accepting, right? It's just,
Oh.
it's just, naked baby and woman and blood and, bodily secretions,
Oh.
but it's just like if she was in nature, she'd be alone, or
Yes.
just the mom and dad, you know,
Yes.
just the family, and quiet.
Mhm.
No beeping going on
Right.
from machines or vitals machines, or and then when the baby comes out, no one's touching it with this cold stethoscope
Yes,
and
yes.
you know, slapping it to get its APGAR scores
Or
and waking
pulling
up.
it.
Sometimes pulling it using vacuums, forceps.
Yes. Or
The
pulling it.
babies that have the forceps, poor thing, they always have bruises right
Yeah,
here.
or pulling it out. And slapping
swelling.
it. And slapping it.
Yeah, I mean, I say slapping, but they don't slap
Okay,
it.
I'm sorry.
But
Delete
like,
that.
they
Tapping.
stimulate.
Stimulate.
They stimulate the baby.
But that's the first stimulation you
Um,
receive, though.
Because a lot of these
Yeah.
babies are, they have a lot of fluid
Yeah.
in the lungs, so it's about expelling
Yeah.
the fluid. It's like typically mostly amniotic
Okay.
fluid. But we don't have to do that if we understand
Mhm.
that we can let nature take care of things. A lot of these things, you know, with a healthy woman, a healthy pregnancy,
Right.
a lot of these things will be done on its own.
Yes.
The placenta will detach on its own.
Yes.
You know, the cord
Yes, it will.
can be left for a while. We
Yes.
don't need to, you know, if the cord isn't cut for too long, it's you know, detrimental or something, or and so there's a lot of fear in the hospital, and that's
Okay.
why these interventions are based.
Okay.
That's where they're based from. It's just fear, and hospital is, you know, there's that business side of it too, of
Yeah.
just let's get this done.
Yes.
Let's on to the next one. So
And move on.
there's a lot of that in the hospital. I will say that there certainly is. There's a lot of compassion, opportunity for compassion there,
Yeah.
and that's what
Okay.
I've learned along the way. Is
Okay.
although there's many things that I see that aren't healthy,
Mhm.
or you think, oh gosh, these newborns being born in this way, that's so many. I mean, I don't know about the statistics on C-sections, but certainly
lot.
more
A lot.
babies are born in the hospital, certainly,
Yes.
than homes
Yes.
or birthing centers. That's an obvious
No.
one. So even that's just really concerning too. So if that's our start, how does that, we're already coming into life
Traumatized.
under so much stimulation
Yeah.
and noise and fear, and they're crying.
Mhm.
And so that's, you know, it's hard.
Yeah.
And then there's the postpartum experience when they come onto our floor, and yeah, like they're not breastfeeding well, the babies that are crying, or they
Mhm.
get colic, and
Yeah.
and then sometimes the pediatrician starting them on formula
Oh.
to gain some weight
Oh.
because they're not at a adequate weight, a stable weight. You know, I think a baby shouldn't eat it should only eat when it's hungry if
Yes.
it wants to, but sometimes the protocols, they want the babies to eat every 2 to 3 hours, you know,
Oh my
on
goodness.
the dot.
Oh.
And I just don't think pushing that is necessary. If a baby's not hungry, it doesn't want to eat, it will let you know.
Yeah.
The baby is an intelligent being.
Right.
It's not a doll.
Right.
It's not, we have to study this.
Right.
It will let you know. Just meet its simple needs, do skin to skin, keep it warm,
Right.
and give it love and affection, and it will let you know. And if you're a mother who's really in tune
Mhm.
with yourself and your baby, you can read the baby, the communication.
Okay.
And I think that's another thing that is really important. What I love to do with
Uh-huh.
educating moms about communication with your baby,
Okay.
because these are the most important times. I can't control what happens in
Mhm.
labor and delivery,
Right.
how the birthing experience goes.
Right.
But once they come on my floor
Uh-huh.
and they're my patient,
Uh-huh.
I completely encourage, I try to encourage really good bonding with the baby
Okay.
practices.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's hard to see moms, with flat affects. They want to break from their baby.
Yes.
They want to put the baby in the nursery, and it's hard to see that. It's hard because you understand that some people don't have children for the right reasons.
Yes.
And so this children isn't celebrated as much
Right.
in some families.
Right.
Some families celebrate the child, and
Yes.
it's beautiful, and
Right.
they dance, the grandma comes in, they're so happy
Right.
and loving, and then some, rooms you don't see it, and
Oh.
sometimes the dad isn't present too,
Right.
or there's not much visitors, or
Uh-huh.
and there's situations that I deal with substance abuse and
Yes.
stuff, and so there's a lot of disconnection with that bonding
Yeah.
and the child. It should be a euphoric, blissful, joyful experience, this life
Right.
that was in me, And so I try to encourage that as much as possible. You know, hey, this is how you can raise your baby, and give your baby comfort when it's crying. Maybe don't let it self-soothe, right?
Right.
You know, do as much skin to skin as possible. Keep it close to you.
Right.
Keep it unswaddled. You don't need to swaddle your baby. You just keep it on your chest. And Dad too.
Yes.
Have the dad.
Yes.
All right, Dad, take off your shirt. Do
Yes.
skin to skin. You know,
Yes.
with you too.
Yes.
Connect with your baby, and that goes a long way, because those first days are developing the baby's attachment styles already,
Right.
and that's going to linger on into their adult life.
Yes.
Can I trust this person that I just came out of to meet my needs and be
Wow.
responsive to me
How powerful.
and give me the love that I need?
How powerful.
So this goes on. So if you have a mom that's not responding to the baby, how is and we know what that, if that's the
message.
dynamic that it's starting with, it's going to go on with
The message,
infanthood, toddler,
adults, relationships.
adolescenthood,
Yeah.
adulthood. That's the relationship, the child and parent relationship that's going to be. It's going to maintain it that way.
Yes.
Most likely.
Wow.
So how does that linger on to reflect how we become as adults and how we can connect with each other
Wow.
and trust each other
Yeah.
and have good friendships,
Yeah.
good quality friendships. And so this is like, these first days are so important. So I try to really emphasize that, you know, with as much as I can, and try to support a peaceful environment.
Wow.
You know, so in many ways.
Well, I mean, I've learned a lot just from you and sharing. I mean, like you're saying, starting with the first days. And I also want to say to the women, the mothers, and the importance of taking care of our bodies. But men also, it goes both ways. It's not just a woman, but I'm going to be very frank, but the sperm has to be also healthy, a certain count. There's other things involved too. So I'm not just going to put on the women. Women, yes, we carry, but we also want a healthy man as well.
If
So,
you want a healthy tree,
Yeah.
you need quality seeds
yes.
and fertile soil.
Okay, and we are the soil and they're the seed, so they both have to be quality and fertile.
Exactly.
That says it all. So anyway, we have just spent almost, over an hour sharing. Like I said, this is my first podcast doing it, and we've covered a couple of different topics. But it's all about generational health here. And so I plan to continue moving forward and speaking about a variety of topics, meeting people like Val and other people who want to see healthy communities, who are in, the mission is to build healthy communities and what that looks like to them. And then also, not only building it, they are living the life. So I don't want anyone in theory. I want those who are actually in there doing it. And she's a woman who's doing it. And that's why I invited her to come to the podcast today. Before we leave, a couple of things to Jeff. Thank you for taking the time to be our production person and get this ball rolling and everything. It wouldn't have happened without you. And of course without Val either, but it wouldn't have happened without both of you. So I appreciate that. And then I just want to share, my drink of choice for today. Today, my drink of choice, as you can see, it's very beautiful, very orange, which means carrot. There's some apple in there, ginger, and lemon. So that is what I am drinking today throughout the whole day to nourish my body and to keep it strong, vibrant, energized, and healthy. Wellness community. Healthy people build healthy communities. Anything that you're eating that we should know about or anything like that real quick? Or you're doing?
So post-fast, I'm just continuing what I was doing before, continuing on my raw food, fruit and lettuce, pretty much. Keeping it really, I'm also just on mono meals, and that's just how I roll. It's simple life.
Okay.
The simpler the meal, the better you feel, and the simpler the food, the better the mood.
And like as we say, a clean body creates a clean mind. So salute and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or wherever you're at. And please come back and visit us again. Thank you.